Hey everybody, Alan Schaefer at Custom Garden Solutions. In today's exciting episode, I'm doing a follow-up to an episode I did October 26th called Broccoli and Cauliflower episode number 1. So we're calling this Broccoli and Cauliflower episode number 2, right? Genius. In that episode, I sowed broccoli and cauliflower seeds in my indoor grow room called the Garden of Alan, here just outside Phoenix, Arizona. It was my intention to do weekly follow-ups to that episode so I could show you how the plants were progressing. Well, business has been crazy good, but my time to do YouTube episodes has been limited. So I wasn't able to do those follow-ups. And today we're basically ready to transplant these outside. It's been about 5 weeks. So after about 6 days, I expected 7 to 10 day germination, about 25% of the plants had started germinating and had broken ground. After 10 days, almost all the plants had germinated and were growing healthy. So I attribute the fact that I have really good germination and growth rates in my indoor grow rooms to a couple things. One is that I put LED lights on at least 12 hours a day, sometimes more. Secondly, that the temperature in the grow room is a pretty steady 70 to 72 degrees, which is perfect for broccoli and cauliflower. And finally, a difference between my Arizona grow room and my Illinois grow room. And for those of you who haven't been following, I'm in the process of moving to Arizona. So I've got a home here in Arizona, and I need to sell my home in Illinois, and I'll be doing that this summer, and then I'll be a full-time Arizonian. I think that's what they call us. But the difference between my grow room in Illinois and my grow room here in Arizona is I have the same setup, using the same shelving, same lights. I'm using 4 LED lights per shelf. But here in Arizona, I have a southern-facing window. And it's been rather sunny here, right? Arizona, Valley of the Sun. And so that extra light, I think, really helps my plants get healthy. So these are ready to transplant. I'm going to bring you outside, and we're going to get these into the ground. All right, so I'm outside, beautiful day. And I'm going to transplant that broccoli. I left the cauliflower in the grow room. We're going to get that another day. Hey, before I get started, I just want to talk about these trays real quick. I talked about it in broccoli and cauliflower episode number 1, but I just want to go over it real briefly today. So in episode 1, I talk about how I use this cheap, flexible 10 by 20 tray, pretty standard. But I also found these 1-inch, more rigid trays. And in the grow room, episode 1, I talk about how one fits into the other. And how that's great, because if the cheaper top flexible one leaks, then I won't have a leak into the grow room floor. Well, in coming over here today and getting the plants into the truck, I realized, that's something I should talk to my viewers about. So I was able to grab the tray from the shelf, because I'm using this 2-tray system with the bottom one being more rigid, and just put it into the truck. And now that I'm here, I'm able to grab it from the truck and bring it into the garden, right? Now, if I didn't do that, I'd be searching around for boxes, or bring them out one by one or whatever to get them from my indoor grow room to the garden. Now, I grow hundreds, maybe 500 plants a year. I grow them for myself, I grow them for my friends, I grow them for customers. So I grow a lot of plants, and I need to come up with best practices so that I don't waste time and I'm efficient. And these trays are a time saver, very efficient. I just wanted to share that with you. And now I'm able to grab them and walk them into the garden. All right, let's talk about plant placement for the broccoli. And to understand plant placement, you really understand the context and the environment that I'm growing in. So I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, but you can apply this to where you live. And today the temperature is about 65 degrees. And it's going to be in the high 60s, low 70s for the next 10 days or so. Pretty typical Phoenix weather for this time of year. So December near the end is the coldest typical temperatures in Phoenix. Once it hits January, the temperatures start slightly rising. So we may have a few frosts, but broccoli is a cool weather crop, and it could withstand a few light frosts. Now, we usually don't have those hard frosts that start 6, 7 o'clock at night and run through 6, 7, 8 o'clock the next morning, a 12-hour frost. Typically, it'll cool off overnight, and 3 or 4 in the morning, it might drop down to 35, 34, 33, etc. But then, just an hour or two later, the sun comes up here in the Valley of the Sun, and the plants get healthy again. And even if there is a frost the next night, they can usually withstand it. If I have to, I'll come over here and I can put some covers on the plants. So we should be okay. December, January, 60 days. At the end of January, we're probably looking to harvest some broccoli. Now, as many of you know, maybe some of you don't, broccoli, once you cut off the main head, will produce little shoots of broccoli, little tender shoots that are as good, if not better, than the big head of broccoli. So once we harvest these in January or early February, end of January, early February, I want those shoots to continue to produce. So I don't want the plant to bolt. I don't want the plant to go to seed. So what I'm going to do is be wary of the sun in February and March. In end of February and in March, it might get up to 90 degrees. So one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to plant the broccoli in the area of the garden, this middle area, where I've got shade cloth. And I need to work on this. But I can roll this up and down. So if I plant on this area of the garden, kind of the middle of the garden, when February and March hit and it starts to get warmer, these are going to have some shade protection. All right? So in addition to not wanting the plants to bolt or go to seed, broccoli being a cool weather crop, the broccoli is going to taste sweeter if it isn't stressed by the sun. So it might look okay, but the taste will be different. So I'm actually looking 60 to 90 to 120 days ahead. I think we're going to be good December 1st to January 31st. Pretty much we'll be able to harvest at the end of January. But I don't want those shoots to not come because of bolting, of going to seed or stress. And I want the broccoli to still taste delicious. So I'll just plant these in an area garden where I can use this shade cloth. We don't have shade cloth on that end, but this area in the middle does. So let me get started. And of course, I've got to roll up the shade cloth. Rolling it up. Rolling, rolling, rolling. Whoop, 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 whoop. Now we had a nice setup. When I left, but we had these, what they call monsoons here in Phoenix this summer, really crazy storms. And the shade cloth got kind of torn apart a little bit. Not so much a shade cloth, but the contraption we had here to roll it up and roll it down. So now I kind of just have to tuck it up there. All right. Woohoo! Let's talk about spacing. Remember, I have almost a full garden that's open here, and I've got another half of the garden that's still yet to have compost put in. So we've got plenty of space. But I still don't like to waste space. So I'm probably going to go about 24 inches between plants. Understand that a good healthy broccoli plant that you harvest after about 60 days is going to be about 12 inches in radius, about 24 inches in diameter. So you need about 2 feet between each plant, 24 inches between each plant. Now, sometimes I go 18 inches or so, and it doesn't worry me, but I really want to get the shoots after I harvest these, which means the plants are going to continue to grow bigger and bigger and bigger, and I don't want to impede that. So I'm going to go about 2 feet spacing, and I'm going to provide about a foot to 18 inches between the rows. Actually, I'm going to kind of go with the rows that are in place from the drip irrigation we have in place, from the drip lines. So let me get to it. Hey, before I jump in there and start planting, I use this thin trowel that I came across a couple years ago. Actually, not this one, but this type. And prior to that, I always use the wider trowels, kind of the thicker, wider trowels, and those are fine. But this is really great when you're transplanting from a container about this size. Digs a thin, deep hole, a narrow, deep hole, and then you can just pop the plant in. Just really a time saver, and I'm all about being productive. So I'm going to take this plant. Let me get closer here for you. All right, very healthy broccoli plant. And I'm just going to put my fingers over it. All right, my 2 fingers so it doesn't fall out. I'm going to turn it upside down. Drop the cup. And if you notice, there's not a lot of circling going on the bottom or roots hitting the sides. So I'll just tease these few roots that did circle off a little bit. And then what I do is I stick my finger in the middle and just kind of lightly break it apart. And then I just put it into the ground. All right, so let's get going. Again, the wonder of the tray. So I got about 14 or 15 broccoli plants transplanted from my indoor grow room to the outdoor garden. How exciting. I noticed that some of the broccoli was kind of limp or flaccid. Flaccid isn't a word often used in gardening, is something I've noticed, but it's a fine word. And the reason why they're a little droopy is that I didn't water maybe as much as I should have the last couple of days leading up to bringing these out to the garden. I don't like to overwater right before I transplant to the outdoor garden, because when you take the container and you turn it upside down, first of all, you kind of get a muddy mess. But secondly, when you turn it back, when you get it out and you're holding it, quite often the bottom half or a good portion of the soil will just drop off. And while that's not fatal, it isn't really going to hurt your plants, it's just not optimal. So if you have a little bit of a drier container right before you transplant, it'll make life a little easier. And when you turn the container upside down, it'll come out in one big piece, kind of like an ice cube out of an ice cube tray. So, oops. So they're a little droopy, they're a little flaccid, and they'll be fine with a little water, getting used to the soil. They'll get acclimated. A little sun tomorrow. Temperatures should be in the mid 60s, high 60s tomorrow, and the plants should be fine. I'm betting on it. I'm Alan Schaefer at Custom Garden Solutions. Our channel is all about helping you grow herbs and vegetables and all kinds of cool garden stuff so that you can live a healthier and happier life. If you're new to the channel and you want to learn all about growing herbs and vegetables and all kinds of cool garden stuff, then start today by subscribing. It's not fatal, it's not final, it's free. I mean, you can always unsubscribe. I'll try my best to never make you unsubscribe. But so you don't miss anything, also hit the notification bell, because you never know what I'm going to be talking about next. Blah, 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 blah. You're an idiot. It'll break apart. When it's a little drier, it sticks together. Stick together a little better. It sticks together a little better. Genius, genius, genius.